Praise be the Messiah, and today is the very first episode of Tactica Mechanicum, where we take a look at a datasheet for Mechanicum units and we see if the unit is any good on the battlefield. Today the first unit we're looking at is Thallax Cohort. Thallax Cohort is composed of 6 models at 120 points. You can add additional 3 at 20 points per model, which means that for a unit of 9 models you end up with 180 points. Now it's actually 190 points because you need to pay 10 points extra for a Praetorian, which I believe, well, in my opinion, I think it's worth it. So 190 points just without any upgrades. Thallax, movement 10, pretty fast. Weapon skill 4, but the weapon skill is not their main draw. Ballistic skill 4, which means you pretty much hit on trees. Strength 4, again, we don't really care about strength. Toughness 5 is nice. But most of the Mechanicum units are Toughness 5, which is good, because a lot of the Marine units, especially in melee, are Strength 4, which means they wound you on 5s unless they have some special weapons. So Chainswords just wound you on 5s, which is very good, as I learned in my game. 2 wounds, pretty good. Initiative 3, which again doesn't really matter, because it's mostly in melee, and Attacks 2, which again, it's melee, so this is a purely ranged unit. Leadership 7 or 8 with a Praetorian, which is important. Cool 12, Willpower 4 or 5 with a Praetorian. Intelligence 4 or 5 with a Praetorian. 3 up save, 6 up invul. Now the invul can be boosted to a 5 up if we make them a prime unit, which we'll get to after we have a look at the datasheet. They come with a standard lightning gun, frag grenades. They have Reductor, Trait, and Allegiance. You can pick Loyalist or Heretic. Special rules, Bulky Tree, which we don't really care about Bulky Tree because they won't be in a transporter most of the time. Deep Strike is pretty good. As we look at some of the weapon options, Deep Strike is important for them. Ages of Pain, that's an ability that activates when you get a status, cyberturgic status, which I don't think will matter, because the issue that they have is that they're movement 10, which is fast, right? But all the units from High Command, and troops that can attach to them are movement 6. Which means that the Thallax will drop from movement 10 to movement 6. And that's a very big loss for them, because speed is one of their key draws, especially if you want to run multiple units. Now, they're anti-grav, which is good for when it comes to traversing the battlefield. That makes them even faster. But now, let's look at what options they have. So, there's a big change in 3.0, where you can replace every lightning gun in the unit with one of the 3 special weapons. You can give them a phased plasma fusel, which I'm the big fan of. That's basically a marine killer. Well, let's have a look at the profile of this weapon. Now, phased plasma fusel, range 24, which with their movement of 10 is basically 34. Firepower 3 shots per guy in a 9-man squad. That's a lot of shots. Strength 5, which also means that you will be wounding most Marines in power armor on 3s, because they're toughness 4. And against Terminators, which are toughness 5, you'll be wounding on 4s. So this is a very good weapon, especially considering it's AP 3, which means any 3-up armor, it just goes straight through. Damage 1, which is again typical Marine killer, and Breaching 5+, which is good if you're going against tougher targets, because with the amount of attacks, you will get a couple of 5-up breaching. Then we have Multi-Melta, which could be good when you consider that you can put this unit in the Deep Strike, and Deep Strike it behind a vehicle, target its rear armor. Multi-Melta for 15 points, 24-inch range, which is 34 with their movement 10, or when you Deep Strike, it doesn't really matter. Only 1 shot, which is, it's a little bit of a problem. So you'll have 9 multi-Melta shots, which is still a lot. Strength 8, which is a problem of a Melta against vehicles. But again, when you Deep Strike them, you will be coming in at the rear armor, so it should be mostly rear armor 10, maybe 11 or 12. So if it's our armor 10, which is I believe a Rhino, you are glancing on 2s and breaching, and penetrating on 3s. If it's a Predator, I think it's armor 11 or 12, which means you'll be penetrating on 5s or 4s. So, yeah. It's not bad, but the strength is the letdown of this weapon. AP2, most armors just, it goes through most armors. Damage 3, which is good actually, but you have to get through the armor if you're using it as an anti-tank, right? Now, heavy rules, special rules, sorry, heavy round strength. So, you can go up to strength 9, which will make it more reliable, but you have to stay still. So if you deep strike them, you don't get that rule until your next turn if the vehicle stays still, but then, oh sorry, if your unit stays still. But then the vehicle will most likely turn around if you don't kill it, right? So, it's not really useful. Melta 8 is very good, but and you will be within the range of it, so it is a very powerful weapon, but the strength is the big letdown. Then you have Photon Thruster. Now this is what I will be personally running. So I plan to run 2 squads. Let's just find the Photon Thruster. Where is the Photon Thruster? Ah, there we go. It's the last weapon. 24-inch range, again with movement 10, 34. Firepower 2, 2 shots per guy, so 18 shots. Round shot 8, which sounds bad, but let's keep moving. AP 2 and damage 1. Now, the thing with this is that it has Armor Bane, Armor Breaker 5 up, and Suppressive 1. Armor Bane is that if you score a glancing hit, it counts as a penetrating hit. So, let's say against a Rhino, on a 2 up, you do a glancing hit. But with Armor Bane, on a 2 up, you do a penetrating hit. So every hit that goes through is a penetrating hit. Suppressive 1, which is actually nice because it goes on a vehicle. So that's a little bonus. But Armor Breaker 5+. Armor Breaker means that any wound that goes through, you get to roll a dice for. And on a 5 up, you do additional point of damage. So this damage 1 can become damage 2 on some of the attacks. And with the amount of attacks you have, I think this is better than Multi-Melta. For the same point cost. Multi-Melta, yes, it has the Melta 8 rule. And it has the heavy strength. But you will never get the heavy strength. Also, it's only 1 shot per guy. So if you miss, you miss. But here, there are 2 shots. With Armor Bane and Armor Breaker too. 5 up, sorry. And Suppressive ones. I think I'll be trying both variants. But I think I'm more excited for the Photon Thruster than Multi-Melta at the moment. Now, we should also have a look at the Lightning Gun, their basic weapon. 18-inch, which is 28. 3 shots per guy, Strength 5, AP 5, which is a letdown, damage 1. Now, it has Assault, which is good for volley firing. It's Shred 6 up and Suppressive 0, so it's very meh. I think you pay 10 points per guy extra and you take the phased plasma fusel. I think this is a much better option because Lightning Gun doesn't guarantee you killing anything you go against because it's AP 5, right? So I think if you go with the plasma fusel for marine killing, for vehicle killing at the moment, I'm going with Photon Thrusters, but it could change. Now you can put a bayonet on for 2 points on Lightning Gun. It's not worth it because you're not gonna take the Lightning Gun. You can take Melta Bombs for 5 points per model, which could be good. Melta Bombs would be... Where would they be? Oh, there. Now, it is in melee, so it's initiative -3, attack with modifier 1, strength 9, AP 2, damage 4. So if you don't finish a vehicle, remember you cannot charge from deep strike, but if you don't finish a vehicle and you survive, you might shoot and then charge again to really finish it off. Is it worth it? I don't think so, because if you deep strike and you don't kill the tank or whatever you deep strike against, the enemy will most likely turn around and wipe the unit. Now, it is tanky, but it's not impossible to kill. So I don't think the bombs personally are worth it. And again, you have the 10 points for the Thallax Praetorian, which I think you should take the upgrade. Now, let's take a look at which high-tech arcana we can run them in. So these are Reductor. There we go. So it's Thallax Command Cohort, Apex Detachment. You get 3 prime slots. Now, what prime advantage do we get? We get Thallaxi Principi. All units get 5 up invul save and a leadership +1. This makes them much harder to kill. 6 up invul going up to 5 up invul. I think it's only against the range, yeah? Oh no, against everything. Okay, that's even better. So yeah, 5 up invul is much better than 6 up. It increases your chances of survival, especially with T5 wounds, 2 wounds. So if you plan to run a lot of Thallax, I would recommend taking it. Now the problem is that I believe your high command high magos has to be of a Reductor arcana for you to be able to get Thallax Command Cohort. So I would only recommend this if you're planning to go 3 squads of 9 Thallax, and they're your main striking unit, because they do cost a lot of points. It's 190 base, and then you pay additional 10 if you're going for the Marine Killer. So that's what, 280 points, I think, for a 9-man squad. That's a lot, and then you multiply by 3. And especially if you go with any of the other weapons, that's extra 5 points on top. It's a lot of points for your army. But if you're planning to go heavy, Thallax Command Cohort would be the way. Also, again, we don't look at the wall breaker because you won't be attaching a leader to them, because that will slow them down. Also, I believe that none of the leaders get the deep strike ability, so I think if you attach a leader without deep strike to the Thallax Cohort, they cannot deep strike. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong with that, but yeah. But that's a nice little quick video. That's Thallax Cohort, Tactica Mechanicum, and I'll see you next one. Go on.